Welcome back, everyone, to cooking lasagna. So, after we left off in our last part of the video, we were browning our meat and cooking our tomato sauce. I'm glad to show that that's done, and we have our full tomato sauce, both the full and part and reduced versions, and we have our meat ready to make the lasagna. So we're going to be using a couple of things today that are really important. So my family likes to use disposable baking trays, though you can totally do it in a casserole dish or any other type of baking tray. We use small baking trays, but we really like to pack ours to the top. So we have not a broil tray, but a thin cookie tray that we like to put the lasagna tray in, like so. So when it overflows, the lasagna that is, it won't spill out into the oven and make a big mess, but it'll spill out into the cookie tray, which is significantly easier to clean. We have no boil lasagna noodles. You can absolutely do boil noodles. However, we think that, we being my family, think that these noodles taste just as good and we don't need to boil them. Because boiling takes a really long time and it's a very long process. So these taste just as good. We're going to be using 3 types of cheese today. We're going to be using ricotta, part skim. We're going to be using mozzarella, also part skim. And we're going to be using grated Pecorino Romano cheese from Locatelli. So we use partial skim, mostly because of my grandma, who lives next door and we make food for her as well. She's diabetic, so she can't have full skim and most normal products that have more sugar and fat in them. But you can use those products if it's within your dietary restrictions. So let's start actually making and assembling the lasagna. The first precept or tenet or pillar of faith of lasagna making is to be generous with the sauce. So you want to take a big gulpful of this. Don't be shy. But you want to just put a little down at first. That seems to just totally contradict what I just said about being generous, but bear with me for a second. You want to sploosh it all around, like so, to make sure it coats to the sides. Because it's going to be really problematic if your sauce, or if your lasagna sticks to the bottom of the pan and to the sides. That means you lose your sauce layer, it means you lose your bottom noodle layer, it's not really a good time for anyone. So you just want to make sure it gets nice and coated. Okay, now it's totally been nice and coated. Maybe even a little more on the sides. But I wouldn't be crazy about it. Okay, so now we're gonna grab some more sauce and just throw it right in there. This is from our pre-made tomato sauce from earlier, though later on we'll probably be using some of our sauce that we made in the reduced sauce in the video. There we go. So we see how thick that sauce layer is on the bottom. Now what we're going to do is the second tenet of faith of lasagna baking. The noodles. Now for our baking tray, we can pretty safely lie 3 noodles flat, like so, along the bottom of the baking tray. Or basically, 3 of these rectangles covers the baking tray. But however, if you have a lot of sauce, like we have, you could actually put them long ways as well. Or just 2 of them long ways in order to soak up the extra sauce, like so. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start taking our cheese. I recommend for the ricotta, what you want to do is you want to take the cheese out with a spoon and then throw it on and paste it down, while ensuring that everything stays flat. You want to make sure it gets nice and spread around. Don't be shy with any of these ingredients. My family, for feeding effectively a family of 7 with this ricotta, so we're not being shy, and even if you're one person, this freezes well, so I wouldn't be shy either. So it gets nice and all on there. And once you have big globs, you can start spreading it around more. Like so. Now what we can do is, after spreading this around some more, we can take some mozzarella. Sorry, just to make sure this gets nice and perfect. So now we're going to take our mozzarella. Also, don't be shy about taking a huge handful of this and just sprinkling it on. You might get some on the floor, that's okay. That's just, what do they say? A casualty of making lasagna. You know what? Don't be shy. We'll put a little more on. I love mozzarella. Now you want to take the pecorino romano cheese. You want to throw that on too. Be a bit more generous than that. Remember, you really want to be generous with lasagna. You don't want it dry. You don't want it too uncheesy. You don't want it too unsaucy with your tomato sauce. You just want to have good portions of everything. Wonderful. Now what we want to do is we want to throw on the next part, or it's our meat. I cannot stress enough, don't be non-generous with the meat. Be very generous with the meat. Make sure it gets all on the lasagna. Look, doesn't it look beautiful? That's it with the meat for now. If you see you have some glumping onto one corner, what you can do is you can take some and just share it around. We have a little less in that corner, but that's okay for now. Because that is getting replaced with more sauce. Remember, always be generous with this stuff. You can't really see it. You can't really see it too much. But I have it over here, and now I've moved it to show you all. I've never done this before. I've never made lasagna before. It's something always my mom did. But I'm happy to be showing it to you all. Remember what I said about being generous? You want to be extra generous. Extra generous. If you want, you can even adapt the sauce solution to the noodle solution, go sideways as well. Also, bear in mind that I'm not the neatest of chefs, so you might see some spillage on me, but that's okay. So now we're going to move on to the next stage of the cycle, the noodles. I almost put the ricotta cheese. I almost put the cheese there because I was thinking of cheese. Then you put 3 of them sideways. We have a lot of excess sauce here, so you just stick 2 of them like this, and we're good. Now we're just going to put our cheese back, like so. Never be stingy with your ricotta. If your noodles start to come up and you see some cross layering, that's perfectly fine. What you want to do is you want to make sure you have some ricotta in every region, and just gloop it all on, and then you can spread it around. You just flat over the backside of your spoon. And if you need to, you can even take your spoon and move the ricotta all around. If it's not a perfect layer, it's okay. Remember, cooking isn't an exact science. I had a chemistry teacher who would always make references to cooking in class, and it was wonderful. Now, again, never be stingy with the mozzarella. Just scoop that on. Scoop it on. Now we do the same for a pecorino romano. If you wanted to, you could even make lasagna bigger, but you just have to get a bigger tray. There we go. Now it's all cheesy and yummy. Now what we want to do is we want to take the meat on. Remember, if you see all your meat glooping on one corner, I want to make sure to spread it nice and evenly. See, we have some excess meat left over, we can use that for other purposes later. But always make sure to use a lot to cover up the holes. Now what we can do is we can take more sauce on. See, this here is getting pretty heavy, so you don't really want to lift it. But what you can do is you can just take the gloop of this tomato sauce, make sure you drain off all the extra, bring it nice and over, gloop it right on top. Now you might be saying to yourself, Christopher, aren't you making a big mess here? And we are making a big mess, but that's okay because lasagna is really good. want to make sure it gets nice and all covered. Look how much yummy sauce there is there. Alright, isn't that wonderful? Look at all that. You know, just for good measure, we'll just do one more. Get some onion there too. Nah, that's all. That's okay. Remember that tomato sauce is that excess. All that tomato sauce we have there isn't going to waste. It's getting used. Do one big good one just for last measure, because remember when you're cooking this, you're going to be cooking it in a pan at 350 degrees with your oven for 90 minutes. And for the last 15 minutes of that, you're going to be cooking uncovered. You want to pack the sauce, and I wasn't joking when I said earlier we're going to be generous with the sauce. Now we'll put it down and put the noodles on. You want to pack this down too, as much as possible. See how that's oozing? But this is why we have long ways. Doesn't that look wonderful right now? But we still have a little more to go. We're gonna put cheese on. We don't put ricotta on the top. We're gonna put some mozzarella and pecorino romano on as well. This last one is a little different, mostly because you want the ricotta doing anything bad in the oven. But mozzarella and pecorino romano should be just fine. We can be a little extra generous too. We're making a big mess right now, but that's okay. That's good with the mozzarella. I'll put some pecorino romano on. Make sure it gets everywhere. Yeah, there we go. So now what we're going to do is what you want to top it off with some sauce. And you got to be generous here too. There's no skimping on tomato sauce. See how much easier a 9-quart pan is for lifting things up? There would be even a bigger mess if we actually used a smaller pan, or if we used a smaller pot for this. Make sure it's nice and glooped on. All the good stuff. Now this is a great holiday dish. The holidays are fun, but the cleanups are notoriously bad. So it might as well make something really good and have a lot of good cleanup to do, because you're cleaning up anyway. There we go. Look at that yummy sauce. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I think it's beautiful. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our aluminum foil and cover it up. Like so. So now you're going to bake this in the oven for you're going to bake this in the 350 degree ovens covered with the foil for 90 minutes. And then at the end of those 90 minutes at 350, you're going to cook it for 15 more minutes uncovered at 300 degrees rather than 350. So I'm going to show the results of the finished lasagna once we actually get another video going, because the way my recording setup has it now is that I can't actually open the oven and show you what it's like to put lasagna inside. But right now, rest assured, I have my oven preheating to 350 right now, and we'll put the cookie tray with the foil and our lasagna in. Now, something to be sure of is that your lasagna is really, really heavy. You don't want it to fall and drop and cause an even bigger mess than I did. So always be wary of lifting your lasagna tray. Also, always be sure to be generous with your ingredients, like I mentioned earlier. This freezes and reheats really well. And one of the reasons that I especially put a lot of sauce on is because if you need a quick dish to reheat or to freeze that you want to take out or put it into the fridge for later, you can use this lasagna, and this lasts you a very long time. I really like making this lasagna, and I hope that you're going to like eating it as well. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and I'll show you again when the lasagna actually comes out. Thank you.